Okay, I think we're recording. All right, so I'm going to do a demo right now. So I'm going to walk through those 7 steps that I read off to you guys. Trim to the top / outside of the crop mark. Step 2, adhere. Step 3, score. Step 4, mark the trim at the top and bottom of the front cover. Step 5, fold the comp. Step 6, trim the top and bottom of the folded comp. And step number 7, trim the edge of the back cover. So the first thing I'm going to do is trim to the edge of the crop mark. And so this is what I'm talking about. See how it's like right to the edge of the outside? Okay? So when you start, you're going to have 2 sheets like this where it's floating on a larger sheet. So you're going to cut both down like this. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one right now. So I'm using a metal ruler. It's very important that it's metal and not plastic or wood, because your X-Acto can cut plastic or wood, and when it cuts the ruler, then it will cut your hand. So metal is really important. And then what you do is you line your ruler up with the edges, those tippy top of your crop marks. And then what you're going to do is you're going to hold your X-Acto blade like an extension of your index finger. So I'm not holding it, like balled up in my fist like a kid with a crayon. Okay? And then what I'm doing with my left hand is I'm holding the ruler with 3 different pressure points. So my thumb, my pointer finger, and my middle finger. And really important is I'm paying attention to that index finger, which when it's... What's that?
I think your head is blocking the camera.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. We're going to adjust a little bit. Okay, how does it look now? I can't see it.
Good.
Okay, so then what you're going to do is it's really important with your index finger that you have it tucked into the ruler, because sometimes a little bit of that skin is just sticking right out over the edge, and then you just slice the tip of your finger off. So really pay attention to where that index finger is. That's probably the most common injury that I see. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut, and notice that I didn't cut all the way through the top or the bottom of the paper. So I started a little bit in, and I stopped a little bit in. And the purpose of that is so that when I rotate the page, that I still have the crop mark here on this side. So this is a lesson to be learned, is that you never cut all the way through the paper. You want to try to like cut a window. Okay, so I'm just working my way around, cutting to the edge of the crops. And what the purpose of this is so that when I glue the 2 pages together, they'll be perfectly centered up against one another. But it will still have the bleed on it, so that when I trim the bleed off, I'll trim it while they're already adhered so that they share that same cut. So you don't have to perfectly line it up then. Okay, so this is the window I'm talking about that you're trying to do. Okay, once you're done that, then you're going to adhere them. So what I'm using today, I'm using a Scotch 3M product that I've already put on the back of this, which makes it like a giant sticker. But this stuff is expensive, so you can use other adhesive methods. So what I typically recommend to students is spray mount. That's nice and cheap, and it works great. The drawback is that you have to do it in a well-ventilated area. So you can't do it in a room like this. So that's why I'm not using spray mount right now for the demo. So if you do spray mount, you need to work like outside, open air is best, or if you had access to a spray booth, like Tyler has spray booths where there's a ventilation system that you turn on. But anyway, when you do your spray mount, you would put a clean scrap of paper on the floor, on the ground, put your print face down on it. You want to keep your can a couple of feet away. Don't get super close, otherwise you'll get like a wet mark. And you want to keep your can moving, not hold it in one space at a time. So if you keep it moving to keep that spray nice and even and not get the page too wet, and it just takes a couple of seconds, like a second or 2. You're just like, shh, done. That's it, okay? Pretty fast. And then you would adhere them together. I'm using this material here, so I can simply pull the backing off. So see, there's my glue. And pay attention to which way is right side up, because that's a very easy mistake to make, is just to glue them upside down. And then what I usually do, how I usually do it, is I'll concentrate on a specific corner. Let's say I'll do this corner. And I will line up a corner, and then I can kind of pivot a little bit with it and try to line up the edge. Okay, and I tried to let it gently roll down so that I've tried to avoid getting bubbles, air bubbles into it. So I tried to work from the corner to let it lay down. And then I'm going to lay scrap paper over top, and I'm just going to secure that bond by rubbing it down. What I'm using to rub it down, this is called a bone folder. This is a bookbinding tool. But you can use something else, but something to just apply the pressure to secure the bond. Okay, next up is score. So what that means is I'm going to introduce a crease where the fold should be. So if you set up your file like I've taught in class, you will get registration marks on your folds right here. So I can just line my ruler up to those tick marks, and then I can apply pressure with my bone folder to score the paper. Alright, now I'm going to use my pencil to mark the trim at the top and bottom of the front cover. So I'm using the ruler to connect the crop marks at the top. So right here and right here. And then there's a tick mark right where the fold is going to be on the front cover, and that's where I'm just going to gently draw a little pencil mark. And then I'll flip it around and do it on the bottom of the front cover. So I'm connecting the crop marks at the bottom with my ruler, and then taking the pencil and drawing a little mark right there. Okay, now I'm going to, I think I forgot to tell you this in my rundown of lists. But before you fold the comp, so after you mark the trim at the top and the bottom of the front cover, but before you fold it, what you're going to want to do is you're going to trim off the edge of the fold-in panel, because you won't be able to fold it until you do that. Okay, so there it goes. And now I'm going to be ready to fold it. And because I already scored it, it should be pretty easy to fold. But I move really gently. I just try to find the score. And then I'm just slowly applying some pressure to it. Okay. Okay, and then so that was the fold in that I just did, and now I'm going to do the cover. So move gently. You should be able to, because you scored it, it should. If you're just patient and gentle with it, the fold should come out. Okay, so there it's folded. All right, so next up I'm going to trim the top and bottom. And so that's what the little pencil mark was for, because right here is my little pencil mark, so that tells me where to line the ruler up with it. Okay? So I'm going to line the ruler up with my crop mark and with my little pencil mark that I made.
Is that like the line that's the bleed that you're cutting off?
I'm cutting off the bleed, yeah. This is the bleed, that right there, how the color extends into it. Okay, and then the last thing I need to do is just cut off this edge. And by the way, I said when I was reading it off, I said it was going to be the back cover, but it's the front cover, so I said the wrong thing there. Let's just change that. So, and the way that I trim that off, so I've cut off my crop marks. They're not showing here anymore. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the edge of my fold, and I'm going to put my ruler down and just match it up to the edge of the fold, and just make sure to don't slice your fold off, otherwise your panel is going to detach. So you just got to make sure that you're not including the fold in that slice. You want that fold to be totally tucked underneath your ruler. Okay, and then there's going to be your portfolio-worthy, presentation-worthy comp. Okay, so see, the whole point is that I wanted to make all of my cuts where it's already adhered and as much of it with it already folded as possible. That way, like if you cut it like this and then you fold it, the folds are going to get crooked at top, but because I cut it where it was already folded, then it's going to share a perfect edge. Okay, so it's designed to minimize imperfections and hide any imperfections that come with the job. So, and I probably make it easier. I probably make it look easier than it's going to be for you on your first time. Okay. All right. Any questions? Yeah.
What is that spray called you were talking about?
So I was talking about a spray mount, or you could say like a spray adhesive. Okay. And the trick for that, and it is in the syllabus and the recommended tools. Okay. And the trick with that is buy the one that says Super 77 on it. So it doesn't matter the brand, but make sure it says Super 77. That's a formula, and that's the good stuff. The stuff that doesn't say Super 77, it doesn't have a good bond, and then what happens is it bubbles and it falls apart. Okay.
And should we have our own X-Acto knives to cut with?
Yeah, you need an X-Acto knife, you need a metal ruler, you need a cutting mat. Okay. So you could either have those yourselves or you could borrow them from somebody. So any art direction major should have these are like regular tools that an art direction track will have. So if you don't have them yourself, or because you're not art direction track, you can borrow them. Okay. Just talk to classmates and somebody will have it and you can borrow it. You can also borrow mine if you come during my office hours.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
What about rubber cement?
It is certainly acceptable. I find it very difficult to work with. I really don't like rubber cement, but you're allowed to use it for this. But my problem with it is I find it to be uneven and globby and messy, and like you get like stain, you get like grease stains on your paper.
Like a dry mount?
For a dry mount? Yeah, I mean you can use any adhesive that you want for this. No adhesive is off the table. I mean, like, don't like tape it, because you're gonna be able to see that it's like two separate pieces. But you can use, I don't care if you use Elmer's glue, as long as it looks good. So I'm talking about the tools that that I find work the best, which for me I think spray mount is the fastest and the easiest. And then this stuff is the other stuff that I really like, but this is expensive, so I don't expect people to go out and get this. But you can use any adhesive as long as it sticks together. Like glue stick, it's going to fall apart. It's going to let go. It's going to release. It's not going to hold the bond. Any other questions?
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
If like we end up getting an adhesive that doesn't work like super well in the end? Are we gonna get points off if it like falls apart a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look at craft on this, but it's not a super weighted thing. So I'm just looking at, is this, and the bar that I'm setting for it is a reasonable one, so it's different than, like if I was teaching at Tyler and they were like design majors, there would be a totally different bar for like how good this comp has to be. But my thing is that I find that a lot of art direction majors like never have to do this, and then their craft, like your craft, this is called craft. Your craft is really low as a result of just not practicing it. So I think it's important then that we get like at least 1 or 2 projects in there where we practice it. But I'm kind of looking for something that I consider reasonable. But yeah, if it comes out sloppy, do it again. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop this.